If you've been telling yourself, "I'll start next week," and you meant it when you said it, but next week came and nothing changed, this is for you. If you've opened your phone for 2 minutes and resurfaced 45 minutes later with the same life, the same mood, the same half-finished promises, this is for you. If you've looked in the mirror and done that quick scan, face, body, eyes, and felt a quiet disappointment you can't name, not because you hate yourself, but because you recognize the gap between who you are and who you keep saying you're becoming, you already know what I'm about to say. You don't need a motivational speech. You need recognition, because the most exhausting part isn't the work you're avoiding. It's the second life you're living in your head, where you're disciplined, focused, consistent, unbothered, while your real life stays stuck in the same loop. You keep collecting fresh starts like they're currency. New month, new plan, new notebook, new app, new video. And for a moment, it feels like movement. But then the familiar fog settles back in, and you slide into what you've mastered, postponing your own respect. Here's a second mirror, and it's going to sting a little. You're not just avoiding the hard thing. You're avoiding the moment where you have to admit you've become someone who doesn't do what they say. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because somewhere along the way you started making peace with inconsistency. And the scariest part is how normal that peace feels. And that's what this says about you, more than you think. Not the behavior itself, the signal behind it. When you delay what matters to you, over and over, it's information. It's not a moral verdict, it's a report. It's your life quietly telling you what's actually in charge. Because priorities aren't what you care about. Priorities are what you protect, when no one is watching. If you keep choosing comfort, distraction, and short-term relief, it doesn't mean you're bad. It means your identity is being shaped by avoidance. Every time you back out of a commitment to yourself, you teach your nervous system something. Your discomfort is an emergency, and your word is negotiable. And the more you practice that, the more your self-image shifts. Not dramatically, slowly. You become the person who has potential and a pattern. The person who can explain everything and still feels stuck. The person who knows what to do and doesn't trust themselves to do it. This is identity drift. It's subtle. It's when your daily choices start describing a person you didn't consciously decide to be. You didn't choose to become unreliable. You rehearsed it. You didn't decide to be scattered. You absorbed it. You didn't wake up and say, "I want to be someone who quits quietly." You just kept letting later win, and later became your personality. So when you say you want to disappear and come back unrecognizable in 2026, understand what you're really saying. You're not craving a glow-up. You're craving alignment. You want your life to match your voice. You want your actions to stop contradicting your intentions. And you're tired of being the only person you can't convince. Of course, this feels normal. It's been engineered to feel normal. You live in a world where distraction isn't an accident. It's a business model. Everything around you is designed to reduce friction, soften discomfort, and reward impulse. If you feel pulled in 100 directions, it's because 100 directions are pulling you. And the trap isn't that you struggle. The trap is that you start calling the struggle just how life is. And you stop noticing what it's costing you. Modern life doesn't ask you to choose what matters. It offers you infinite substitutes. A quick hit of entertainment instead of a hard conversation. A scroll instead of a walk. A research session instead of a first step. A new plan instead of a kept promise. And because everyone else is doing it too, it feels harmless. It feels like normal adult chaos. But the cost isn't dramatic. It's cumulative. It's the slow erosion of self-trust. It's waking up one day and realizing you can't remember the last time you truly impressed yourself. And there's a technological factor that quietly reinforces it. The constant availability of other people's lives. You're always observing, comparing, measuring. You see someone else's discipline, someone else's results, someone else's transformation, and your brain starts thinking in snapshots instead of seasons. You want the before and after without living in the during. So you chase intensity. You look for the trick. You look for the hack. Because the boring middle doesn't look good on a screen, but the boring middle is where you become unrecognizable. This is common. Almost everyone is caught in it. But common doesn't mean cheap. It just means the penalty is being paid quietly by millions of people, one day at a time. And every day, whether you admit it or not, you're making a trade. Not a mistake. A trade. You're trading a small discomfort now for a larger discomfort later. You're trading the tension of doing the thing for the numbness of not doing it. You're trading the awkwardness of starting for the regret of staying the same. And because the consequences don't arrive immediately, the trade feels fair. It feels like you got away with it. But you didn't get away with it. You paid with something more valuable than time, credibility with yourself. Self-trust is a bank account, and withdrawals are easy. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get serious after this week. I deserve a break. I'm just tired. Again, those aren't evil sentences. They're just receipts. And when you stack enough receipts, you start seeing a pattern. You keep buying comfort with the money you were supposed to invest in your future. Project this forward 3 to 5 years, not in a dramatic doom way, just realistically. If nothing changes, you'll be older, with the same habits, the same self-talk, the same excuses, but less patience for yourself. Your goals won't disappear. They'll harden into resentment. You'll start calling your dreams unrealistic, not because they are, but because you stop believing you're the kind of person who follows through. And that's the real danger, not failure. Familiarity. You get so used to disappointing yourself that you treat it like background noise. The silent trade-off is this: you're either building a reputation with yourself, or you're training yourself to ignore your own voice. And whichever one you practice becomes your baseline. Here's the moment most people miss. It's not about discipline. It's not about motivation. It's not about finding the perfect plan. It's about honesty. It's not about how hard the tasks are. It's about how casually you break promises to yourself. Most people think the problem is their schedule, their energy, their focus. But the real problem is that their word doesn't carry weight in their own mind. When your word becomes optional, everything becomes harder. Because now every decision is a debate. Should I? Do I feel like it? Is it worth it? Can I start tomorrow? You're negotiating with yourself all day long. That negotiation is exhausting, and the exhaustion becomes your reason to quit. That's the loop. So the insight is quiet, but it changes everything. Your life doesn't transform when you learn more. It transforms when your standards change, not your goals. Your standards. A goal is something you want. A standard is something you live by, even when you don't feel like it. And if you want to come back unrecognizable in 2026, you don't need a more aggressive goal. You need a non-negotiable relationship with your own word. Because unrecognizable isn't a look, it's a presence. It's the way you move when you trust yourself. It's the calm confidence of someone who doesn't have to hype themselves up. They simply do what they said they would do. And yes, that sounds simple. That's why it's rare. So instead of chasing a better plan, adopt a different standard. Not, I'm going to be perfect. Not, I'm going to grind. Something quieter, something sharper. Reliability. You become the person who is dependable to yourself. The person who doesn't need a mood to act. The person who doesn't betray their own intentions for temporary relief. Under that standard, life feels different. You stop living in the fog of constant restarts. You stop needing dramatic resets because your days don't collapse. You don't feel the same level of guilt because you're not constantly creating messes you have to emotionally clean up. You start carrying yourself differently, not because your life is suddenly easy, but because your inner world isn't chaotic. This standard creates a strange kind of peace. Not the peace of everything is handled, but the peace of I can be trusted. You don't have to wonder if you'll show up. You do. You don't have to wonder if you'll follow through. You will. And when you live like that, your confidence stops being something you try to feel and starts being something you earn. And here's the part people don't like. Standards don't care about your excuses. They don't argue with your emotions. They don't get impressed by your intentions. They simply ask, is this who you are? What this requires of you is not heroic. It's quiet. It's unsexy. It's the willingness to be bored. The willingness to do small things without applause. The willingness to sit inside discomfort without needing to escape it. Real change doesn't happen in a single intense week. It happens in repetition, especially when you feel nothing. You're going to feel resistance, not dramatic resistance, ordinary resistance, the kind that whispers, "Not today." You can skip once. You've been good lately. You're tired. And you'll be tempted to treat those whispers as commands. But they're not commands. They're invitations. You don't have to accept them. The internal cost is this: you will have to disappoint the version of you that wants immediate comfort. You will have to say no to the small pleasures that keep you small. You will have to tolerate the awkwardness of being a beginner again. And you will have to stop seeking the emotional high of a fresh start and learn to respect the quiet dignity of consistency. Here's one unglamorous action that reinforces this standard. Do one small promise the same time every day. Something so small you can't rationalize. Skipping it. Not because it changes your life overnight, but because it changes what your word means. You're not building a habit. You're rebuilding credibility. Now, we arrive at the edge of the whole thing, because disappearing and coming back unrecognizable isn't about vanishing from people. It's about vanishing from your old patterns. It's about disappearing from the version of you who needs permission, who needs the perfect mood, who needs someone else to validate the change before it feels real. And the reason this hits so deep is because you already know what you want. You can feel it. You can picture it. You're not confused. You're conflicted. One version of you wants comfort and familiarity. Another version of you wants respect and freedom. And both versions wake up with you every day. The only difference is who you keep feeding. So let this question follow you, not as pressure, but as truth. When no one is watching, and it's just you and your choices, which version of you are you training yourself to become?